Hello, friends. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining me for the final video of 2022. This is December 31st. I'm coming to you. Um, I'll just begin by saying that I want to thank you all for your support this year. It has been extremely validating, and 3 years into a pandemic, and we had probably the roughest week of our existence since lockdown back in early 2020. In the last week, I was fighting illness. I had to put my eldest cat down. That was all of a sudden. A close family member in hospice care. And to top it off, we had a bad storm over the weekend, which fortunately we didn't get the same kind of snow that, say, Buffalo got, but it was bone chilling cold as much of the country, which sort of put a damper on some of the Christmas shopping. And then to top it off, came in first day after the holiday and was greeted with the news that the pizza place 2 doors down had a fire that morning, and 60,000 gallons of water had poured down from their sprinkler system. And thank God we did not get smoke in here and our sprinklers did not go off, because that would have been a total loss. Probably, I don't know, at least 100 grand or something. So, fortunate there that we dodged that bullet. However, I did discover that there was some water that had made its way onto our floor, and that took a couple hours to sort of clean up. Akin to a small lake, it could have been so much worse, and none of the product was affected, and it was just more of a mess than anything. But yeah, some of the water had just looked for the lowest place to go, and some of it made it over here. Most of it went to the street. I feel for those people who are now not able to work for a couple of weeks during a holiday season. How crappy is that? So, anyway, I just look at this and go, 2023, gotta be better. All right, gotta be. So, anyway, I wanted to kind of I don't have new releases to really show this week. There's nothing that really comes out the last week of the year. But this will be a more brief video, but I do want to kind of address a few things. We did lose obviously a lot of great musicians this year, and I don't know. I wouldn't say that we have, let's say, on the level of like the year that we lost. Who was it? Bowie, Prince, George Michael, Tom Petty. That sort of year and a half there was really terrible, among a lot of other people too. But we did lose a lot of significant people, even some classical composers, George Crumb, Ned Rorem, William Kraft, all in their 90s. So on that level we did, but obviously people like Olivia Newton-John. I mean, we sort of have been following, the Taylor Hawkins. It's hard to believe that Ronnie Spector was this year, because it seems like ages ago. But I did sort of want to call out one of my favorites, which is Terry Hall here of the Specials, a guy who was only in his early 60s. And I don't know, I've been following his career for a long time and buying a lot of his even solo albums, because I think he had a real gift for melody. If you know the song Our Lips Are Sealed by the Go-Go's, he co-wrote that with Jane Wiedlin when they were dating at the time. And but that's sort of just a touchstone there too. But he had a lot of like great sort of melodic sense. He loved covering old songs that were meaningful to him. And I think mainly I would say I remember, or will think of him fondly for bringing musical cultures together, because being a member of the Specials, a multicultural or multiracial group, in the late 70s was kind of a big deal. And yeah, it might have been dressed up in sort of ska and island music, but I guess that, also sort of reflected the cross culturalism of things. And I think we need to get out of ourselves a little bit more with this kind of like cancel culture stuff and start embracing cross-culturalism, I think, a little more, because that's what spawned all this creativity. And I think in his case, not only the specials, but Fun Boy 3, yeah, he went on to do things like The Color Field and some of his other work. He did Vegas with Dave Stewart of Eurythmics. They did an album together. Worked with Damon Albarn of Gorillaz a little bit. They were friends. And I mean, another album that people kind of forget is the Terry Hall and Mushtaq album, which was, again, sort of a cross-culturalism, trying to bring Middle Eastern music into sort of pop culture. So, and whether or not you could consider that capitalizing, I think I like to consider it more like you're exposing people to kinds of music and, you know, sort of what Peter Gabriel has sort of done. But maybe not on such a grand or over the top sort of level. But anyway, so R.I.P. Terry, you'll be missed. So let me just cover a few of the new releases that are coming up, I think, of note that you'll want to keep in mind. And then I'll give you a little New Year's wish or New Year's resolution wish for 2023. So I think the big new releases that have been sort of announced at this point: Metallica, obviously, a new album coming in April. That's their first in 6 years, I believe. And Gorillaz Cracker Island, which comes out February 24th. Those are pretty big or significant releases of note. The new Shame album is also February 24th. January 6th, coming up real soon here, is the new Iggy Pop, Every Loser. Sounds like it's going to be a really great rock record. I kind of thought he'd retired, so, and maybe he has from touring, but that's coming out. John Cale, well into his later years at this point, a new record on January 20th called Mercy. Also January 20th, the new Wilco Cruel Country album that came out last May in streaming form and then kind of on a limited CD for Record Store Day. That is finally being released on vinyl at the end of January. Margot Price, January 13th. So those are sort of highlights. And then, of course, a couple other things of note. The Start Your Ear Off Right promotion that Rhino does every January. Now, it used to be called Rhino Day, and they've sort of expanded that, but it's a lot of things from like Otis Redding to the B-52s to Jerry Rafferty. There's a lot of different titles. I think you might be able to see some of them here up at the top. But anyway, those are coming out. Tori Amos, they're reissuing Little Earthquakes again. They did this 5 or 6 years ago. And Under the Pink has already gone through a remaster where they put it on 2 records instead of 1 because they felt like the grooves were too squished together for such lengthy albums. So this will be their optimal sounding pressings, most likely. Tone Poet releases from Blue Note. Skola Hofa, which is John Scofield project, that comes out January 6th. And then on January 20th, there are new albums from Grant Green and Bobby Hutcherson are being reissued as Tone Poets. And then one sort of big kind of, I'd say, underground sought-after grunge release that a lot of people who are into 90s rock are looking for. Days of the New, the self-titled album, is being reissued finally. And there were, 3 or 4 albums. I think he's had a lot of personal problems, but anyway, or he's just been sort of quiet. But that should be a pretty big deal. So other new releases that I sort of came across to be looking for first half of 2023, hopefully. M83, Janelle Monáe, Queens of the Stone Age, The National, Wet Leg with their follow-up record, which they already apparently had done when the first one was released. Porno for Pyros, that supposedly is coming soon. It's been a long time for them. Everything But the Girl, That's been maybe 25 years since their last record. It's interesting that Tracy and Ben have gone on and done several solo records, especially being a married couple and refusing to work together for 25 years in the band that sort of made you. Talk about taking a break. So that should be interesting. I don't even know what it will sound like. Will it sound like the very old folky version, the jazz version, or the dancey club version that they did at the end? Probably a mix of all three. New albums from Paul Simon. That's been talked about a lot. Boy Genius, Phoebe Bridgers and company, a new Boy Genius project. The two that I'm sort of most probably anticipating personally, Peter Gabriel. I have been waiting for this record for what? Up came out in 2002 or 2001? It's been like 20 years since he had an album of original songs that wasn't covers or orchestral or live. So that's kind of a big deal, and he's got a whole tour booked. So I'm assuming that's actually going to happen. The other thing that they've already leaked a few songs because they've been playing all these shows are The Cure. The Cure have played, I believe, 4 songs in their shows that have appeared online, and they're fantastic songs. Like, I'm talking, I feel Disintegration vibes from them. One of the songs I know was about Robert's brother who passed away. Very haunting song. So, and it's been 15 years from them too, since the last record. And it's one of those things where he promises every year, oh, it's coming this year, it's coming this year, and then another project happens instead, a reissue or whatever. But you think the entire main period of the Cure's sort of imperial phase probably happened over the course of about 15 years. And now it's been that amount of time since the last record. So I know life happens. But anyway, so those are my sort of things that I've heard about that I'm looking forward to. I would say my biggest sort of wants business-wise for 2023, my wish is really twofold. One is I would love for the supply chain to sort of ease out to being a problem. And it has actually started to. There's many things that are starting to appear that I haven't seen in 2 or 3 years or longer. Case in point, I don't think I've seen this record in at least a year, maybe more. So hopefully we get more Smashing Pumpkins, the classic stuff. I would love to see Siamese Dream again. I know there were a few Melancholies that got out last year, but that was pretty small. Anyway, the other main thing I think, though, really is more to do with the price structure, and to do with inflation. This year has been sort of an up and down thing, because I feel like while business was maybe getting better monetarily, things have kind of cooled off, especially in the fall when kids sort of went back to school and they started to realize, like, oh my gosh, record collecting can be an expensive thing to keep doing, and they are a luxury. So while we're certainly not hurting or anything like that at this point, I will say that my dream is that the whole inflation aspect of this cools off. And I'm really mainly looking at certain big companies that start with the letter U, a little bit the letter W. These companies, they have like pie in the sky ideas. It's not just about the materials and the shipping, that sort of thing. It's also about what they think they can extort from a customer. And for those of you who think that the record stores are actually making more money because the prices went up, I've got news for you. basically the margins have stayed about the same. If anything, they've shrunk a little bit because the record labels keep pushing the price higher and higher, that we feel like we can't sell it above certain prices without it seeming like there's no way that this is going to sell. So I have a couple cases in point. Kendrick Lamar, his new record, this should have been something that flew off the shelves compared to, I mean, his last 3 were all extremely popular and flying off the shelves. This album pretty much sat on the shelves during the holidays. I mean, it sold a little, but at a $50 price point, they give you 2 records, no gatefold. What's so special about it, you know? And a kid looks at that especially and goes, I can't afford $50 for that. I mean, that seems kind of crazy. Now, on the other hand, you get someone like Beyonce. Okay, $50 for Renaissance. Now, or $46. It's a little bit less. Now, this is probably about, I don't know, as long of an album as the Kendrick, I would guess. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the times. But it's a double album, just like that. However, you get the double albums and you get a massive booklet, a 36-page photo booklet, a collectible poster, double vinyl. I mean, so then you start going, well, what's the better value for the money? I guess it sort of depends on whether or not you like Kendrick or Beyonce better. But also, it really, you start going like, what is the outlay for these sort of things? Neil Young. Traditionally, Neil Young has kind of charged a lot for some of his records. Now, some of them not. I don't think, let's see, Toast was probably around $40. That was new this year. But World Record, the newest one, the one that he did with Rick Rubin, is $50. And it's another record that normally would probably have sold fine. But I think, because it is pushing the dollar the way it is, and I don't know, maybe Neil assumes that, well, most of my fans are older, so they can afford that sort of thing. But, I mean, for a record that sells for $50, we pay probably almost or about $40 for it. So the store is really only, like, the margins on those things, 20% to 30% if you're lucky. And then, then you have product that sits there that eventually you have to mark down. Otherwise, it doesn't move. So, you kind of, I'm looking at you, Tool, and your stupid box set. These are like considerations for record store owners. And one last one I'm going to mention, Taylor Swift. So this came out last year, Red, Taylor's version. 4 records. That's a lot of records. $50. I mean, I think you can find it discounted now for less other places probably. But still, that's not a bad value for 4 records, So I will say that Taylor sort of did it right when Midnights came out this year, because Midnights was priced at about $30 for 1 record. And that seems like maybe a little on the edge, but considering she's like probably one of the most sought after and the most powerful music artist in the business as far as like her sales potential and clout, it makes sense. So, and that's a colored vinyl too. So, they like to charge a little bit more for that. Anyway, I'd be interested to see if you guys have any comments, what you think about, if you've had records that you were sort of like, I'm going to get that. And then you saw the price and you were like, well, wait a second, maybe I'll, look for it later when it's on sale, or, I'm just not going to get it, and that hurts, because I think that especially we've been coming through a time, we had a lot of young people that got involved in buying records. A lot of them got turntables. And I noticed at Christmas, some of them were having to be a little more selective about what they wanted, because they'd pick something up and go, oh my gosh, it's $50. I can't do that. So they'd get something that was, a $30, $25 thing instead. I mean, I don't know. I remember what it's like being a teenager, and I certainly don't have endless supplies of money either. So, yeah, that is my wish for 2023, is to get the prices under control, major labels especially, and make it so the value that people are buying or getting for records equals what you're charging for them, and that it's not just like, oh, well, this person's been popular before, so let's just go crazy with list prices. I mean, the only other thing I can think about that is maybe they're intentionally trying to keep the prices at a level that's almost so much that they don't have to make more of those. And then they can say, well, we made the vinyl, so we don't know what people's problem is with it. I think there was a little bit of that going on during the supply chain, where they were kind of like, well, if we charge enough, then we won't have to make more of it, and then, people can't complain. They'll just complain about the price, but it's not like it's not there. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching this year. I said it was going to be a little shorter, so I better stick to that. Have a happy 2023 and a healthy one. We've been through a lot, and I'm just hoping that things have to get better. There's a lot of good new releases on the horizon, and I think we're going to start hearing about a lot more things. And let's just keep extra variants out of the country, shall we? I don't know. Tough to do that. All right. Take care. Peace. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Happy 2023.